Now we'll discuss about the characteristics of sovereignty. So, regarding characteristics of sovereignty, we found one is absoluteness, the second one is permanence, the third one universality, the fourth one inalienability, and the fifth one indivisibility, the sixth one exclusiveness. So these are the characteristics of sovereignty. So first one is regarding absoluteness. This very concept of absoluteness of sovereignty is a kind of juristic analysis of the power and authority of sovereignty. So, from juristic standpoint, there is no limit to such legal authority as restored into a sovereign, and there is no power superior to sovereign power. So, the sovereign power is supreme power, and that supremacy cannot be challenged by anyone in a state. So, that supreme power is absolute. So, this is a kind of legal or analysis, or we can say it is a kind of judicial view as presented by John Austin while analyzing the concept of sovereignty. But he was criticized by Henry Mann that from judicial point of view, if a sovereign is absolute, it is also is limited by social customs and traditions, and these social customs and traditions are the limiting factors. So also there are many social actions which are not having any legal implications. So in this sense, Henry Mann criticized the absoluteness of legal sovereignty or the absoluteness of sovereignty. The second characteristic of sovereignty is permanency, or the permanent quality of sovereignty. In this sense, it is analyzed that government may come and go. There is always death or a temporary disposition of a particular bearer of the authority and power of the state. So, that is not exactly that there is a change or a limitation of this sovereignty. Sovereignty is itself is permanent, so the change in government or death of a sovereign or a temporary disposition or change of a sovereign is not at all considered as sovereignty is a temporary feature. It is a permanent feature of state. And as the center of gravity only shifts from one part of a physical body to another. So, it means whenever there is a change in the head of the state or government, it is considered as the center of gravity shifted from one authority to another authority, or there is only a shifting of power from one physical body to another. The third characteristic of sovereignty is universality. It means the commands of the sovereign are binding upon all persons and all groups. So, every subject, individual, and citizens, the institutions, organizations, and associations within a state are bound to obey the commands issued by the sovereign. So, it is having an element of universality as it applies to all the individual citizen subjects and all institutions, associations, and organizations. Only extraterritorial sovereignty of a diplomat is not a compulsion on the sovereignty. Exactly whenever a diplomat in a state from a foreign country, from another state, enjoys certain privileges and immunities, so that diplomat could claim extraterritorial sovereignty. But that extraterritorial sovereignty of a diplomat or the diplomatic mission is a limiting factor at the will or at the liberty of the sovereignty. So the sovereignty or the sovereign could withdraw those privileges or immunities provided to such diplomats or diplomatic missions. So this is a kind of universality associated with sovereignty which applies to all within the territory of the state. The next one is inalienability. Inalienability means we cannot separate the sovereignty from its ultimate unlimited power and authority. In that sense, Professor Lieber expressed that a tree cannot alienate to its right to sprout, or a man can transfer his life and personality without self-destruction. So, the very power and authority provided to a sovereign cannot be separated, because by thinking of separating or inalienating those powers and authorities from a sovereign is equivalent to a tree's right to sprout and also a man's living without his life and personality. So, secession of a part of state's territory is not considered as alienation of sovereign's power and authority. So also change of government and transfer of sovereignty from one bearer to another does not mean alienation of sovereignty. So whenever there is a change of government in a state or transfer of sovereign power from one authority to another cannot be considered as alienation of sovereignty. The next one is indivisibility. Under this feature, already we have analyzed about the federal state. So, in every federal state, if you look at and examine their constitution, their amending body, we found that there is, even though some powers are divided or distributed among the different organs of state or in between the center and the states, still then the very amending procedure as found in both United States of America, also in Indian Constitution, it proves that there is less possibility of division of sovereign power, as the very amending procedure of the Constitution is so steep and difficult both in American and Indian Constitution. It found that the sovereign power is indivisible. But Professor Lasky criticized this by saying that the discovery of sovereignty in a federal state is practically an impossible adventure. So, according to him, it is very difficult to locate the proper place of the sovereign authority in a federal state or in a federal constitution. The last characteristic of sovereignty is exclusiveness. So it refers to the exclusiveness of state's power of sovereignty. State alone possesses the supreme power and legally competent to compel obedience of the residents. So it establishes the essential unity of state. So this very supreme power which state possesses, that supreme power makes it that every subjects or citizens or individuals staying within the territory of that state could be compelled to obey the laws, the rules, regulations made by the sovereign. So, these are the characteristics of a sovereign, or the characteristics of sovereign authority, and that sovereign authority which is considered as legal sovereign as presented by Hobbes and Austin.